Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of John Matrixx Talks Movies. If this is your first time visiting the channel, please hit subscribe to catch future videos from me. Today, we have something a little bit different. We're going to talk about a new Star Wars book that is now available, but I don't think a lot of people know about this. And it's something that's actually a little bit different. If you actually want to get more into the mind of what George Lucas was going through when he was making the original trilogy, look no further than the Star Wars Archives. This book is by Paul Duncan. He calls it an oral history of Star Wars. Now, specifically episodes 4 through 6, 1977 to 1983. Now, this is not going to be your typical Star Wars book. This is not necessarily about the journey of the characters. This is all about the development, what would become the original trilogy. And Paul Duncan actually spent 3 days with George Lucas at Skywalker Ranch, just talking to him, picking his mind about different things. And it led to a 600-page book. And it is a massive book. The book itself weighs 13 pounds. This book seems like it may be the Gutenberg Bible for Star Wars. And it goes deep into the mindset of George Lucas, Ralph McQuarrie, Ben Burke, of course Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford, etc. If you were looking to get a more in-depth look into the concept art, the Battle of Hoth, it's going to be all there. And what's actually surprising is George Lucas, he actually says this in an interview here, George Lucas actually wanted the Battle of Hoth pretty much developed before he had a script. So I'm assuming that he already had that in his head and he had his concept artist develop that. And I think that George Lucas basically developed the script around that. So it's just interesting. And George Lucas himself said that, he actually wanted something that to where it wouldn't just be Star Wars that people would look at. He wanted it to connect with his other two movies that he had at the time, which was American Graffiti and THX 1138. And we all know that George is such a visionary. The man was probably a good 30 years ahead of his time. Because if you look at the way movies are made today, the prototype was pretty much the original trilogy. When you look at Jar Jar Binks was ahead of his time too. Now motion capture is pretty common in a lot of these movies. All you have to do is look at Thanos, look at Caesar, look at Gollum. That really came from the mind of George Lucas. Now, also George Lucas, we all know he put the right people around him to help develop his idea and put it on screen. And I think if you actually do read this book, you're going to develop more of an appreciation for George Lucas and his genius that he has. The man is a creative genius. He is a storytelling genius. He may be the greatest storyteller of all time when it comes to films. Now, of course, we all know that he was inspired by the old serials that he grew up on as a kid, like Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon has a huge influence on Star Wars. Just look at the opening title card. That comes from Flash Gordon. Now, if you do want to purchase this book, it does not come cheap. This book is really expensive. It costs $200 if you want to purchase this book. Now, I don't know if it's worth it. Honestly, I'm not going to purchase it. I mean, $200, that's a lot of money for a book. But if you think it's actually worth it, I'm pretty sure this will be a great read, because you're going to be looking at pictures, concept art that was published, some that's not published, interviews that were published and not published, and you get to hear from the master himself, George Lucas. 600 pages of just pure genius in this book. So let me know if you plan on buying this book. Like I said, I'm not. That's a lot of money, and maybe you will. There will be some hardcore fans that will absolutely spend the money on this. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here to the channel, please hit subscribe to catch future videos from me, and we will catch you on the next video. John Matrixx, out.